So, the most venomous, welcome. We are the panel of the future of wildlife, basically. I believe the future is changing of wildlife. It has looked the same in this part of the world for a very, very, very long time. And we are the change makers, we are the innovators. Anything else is an imitation. The most venomous, number one, at the top. Never forget it, okay? Never, ever, ever forget it. The face of wildlife is changing, guys. It is getting younger. It is getting less white, to be honest. And it's coming with new ideas, fresh ideas. Diversity is always, always a great, great thing. I like to think of us as the Avengers of the wildlife game. I'm not gonna lie. That's how I feel.
You think you're Iron Man?
No, do you know what it is? I've never watched the Avengers. Actually, what? Never.
They're baddies, right? They actually just go around funding fossil fuels. That's the whole premise.
Is it actually?
Yeah, that's the whole premise. No, it's not.
Is it?
Mate, you need to up your content.
Okay. Well, the Avengers, I mean, that everyone is dope in their own right. Everyone has their own storyline.
Yeah, all right.
But we're coming together once in a while to make a good movie. You know what I'm saying? All right then. So we are the Avengers of the wildlife space, guys. We've established that, yeah? Anything else is second rate. Like I said, each person here is dope in their own right, and everyone here is doing fantastic work towards the betterment of the natural world. And I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more from everyone as this episode progresses. Stay tuned, stay locked to The Most Venomous if you want fresh, dope perspectives that aren't going to put you to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Pour one, roll one, pick your poison, and drown in the venom, baby. Yeah, drown in the venom. Okay? But that being said, we do have the knowledge on deck. I'm looking around at this panel here, and there is big, big knowledge on deck. We've got a person who found the whitest known substance.
That's not published yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So. I don't know when this is coming out, but like a couple of weeks, fine. Yeah.
So it's not published, but it's pretty dope.
Yeah, you can bleep that.
Yeah,
That's cool, yeah.
No, we're not bleeping it. Allegedly.
Bleep it, and then it could be anything more exciting than what it is. Right?
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
Bleep it, and I'll live up to that.
Okay. So on that, we have that. We have somebody who was assaulted by an eagle owl.
Sexually. We'll come to it at some point. Honestly. Trauma. This is like my therapy session, like group therapy talking.
Therapy, we're here for you. We've all been there.
I think it should be a topic at some point. Animal attacks.
Yeah, 100%. That's a
I've
good
got a lot
idea.
to
Put it
say.
in the group chat.
Got a lot to say
Yeah,
about that.
We also have someone on the panel that sat in a tent full of enthusiastic British wildlife people and said that wildlife TV is boring. It's basically just whack. And the whole tent just went, oh my God. Yeah? So that's the kind of energy and vibe we're coming with on this panel, yeah? Anything you understood about wildlife in Britain, forget it. Roll it into a ball, dash it out the window, and come over this side, yeah? Come over this side. So with that being said, I'm gonna introduce the panel. Starting from my right, going to my left, we have somebody who is a researcher in the natural wildlife, in the natural history space. We are in Bristol as well. I think that's where.
Big up
Bristol. Big up
West
Bristol.
Side.
They call it. Where's the capital? It's the wildlife TV capital, debatably of the world.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
It's something mad like 90% of the world's television is meant to be made in Bristol, even a lot of the American stuff.
And that's part of the problem.
Right, do you know what I mean? You just can't compete. That's all it is.
Is that just wildlife
Part of the
TV?
problem.
Yeah,
Not all
wildlife.
television.
No, not all
Okay.
television.
Mel does amazing work in the wildlife space, breaking waves, increasing that diversity, representing for the people them, Mel. Yeah, you're representing for the people them. Yeah, because we were on a set together. We won't say the production, but we were on a set together. How many people were on that set?
Probably 60.
How many of us were there, really?
3. It was 3 on set, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 4. Yeah, no.
Yeah, 4 on set. Me and Ollie as guests were 2 of them.
Yeah.
Then there was Mel.
Yeah, and there was one of the story devs, I think.
Exactly.
But also because TV industry in general is so insular, and it's about who you know and who you trust, and it just ends up homogenous.
It's also a matter of the stories that people are telling, and it's also the diversity of people watching.
Yes.
Because this doesn't appeal to certain audiences. It's
Totally.
actually catered to appeal to one specific audience.
Totally. Their audience is old white British. That is what it is, and it's even hard to get Springwatch to appeal to a younger audience.
It's like the Conservative Party, eh?
Yeah.
So that was because of the joke in the chat, right? There's a look, I'll stop it. I want to just make the joke. I got it in, I'm done.
Do you know what bothers me a little bit from like an internal production perspective as well is like these programs will be made and they'll like think all up the thought process out, and then when they get to the end they're like, oh no, we need more diversity. And that's the point where it comes in. It's not from the root of, okay, what are we making? What are this audience going to enjoy? What are people going to enjoy? It's let's make what we're making, and then right at the end they're like, oh no, we're not diverse. We need to meet this criteria, this criteria, this criteria.
And that's the problem. It's not about actually caring about those stories. It's about meeting criteria.
100%.
Next on the panel is Mr. Harry Yates.
The total opposite of Mel. Do you know what I mean? I do apologise. It's hard. Sometimes I don't feel like I should speak on these subjects, but at the same time, it's all inclusive in it. But I'm technically the opposite. I'm white male. Grew up in the countryside and not too far from Bristol. Rep Bristol.
So Harry is a researcher and a camera operator for basically the biggest independent wildlife filmmaking company in the country. Big respect. I've had the pleasure of working with Harry for a very brief time because his company thought about diversity right at the end, and they called me. So I came, and we worked together for about a week, wasn't it? And we've been on a couple of shoots since. And even though he is white and he is a male,
The precarity of
know?
white friendship.
yeah, exactly. Even though he is white and he is a male, I really just loved Harry's energy, to be honest with you. His commitment to his work, first and foremost, his knowledge of his work is amazing. But then, even if he doesn't get it, and for the most part you do, the man is willing to have that dialogue, and I just have a great respect for that. And that's why I just think the value that you bring to this table is very high. So welcome to the panel, Harry. Welcome to the panel.
I appreciate you. But yeah, full clarity. White, middle class player technically I've got family in television as well, so I'm the worst of the worst, the people who hate but yeah, I know, honestly. At the same time, I did my graft. I made coffees and teas for 2 years. I came up from work experience runner. I'm not jumping the gun on anything.
You don't have to justify that.
No, but you do, when you 100% do, because when people see that and they think, me, I've got a grant, I've got nobody who I see in the industry, it's an open conversation at the end of the day. It might have been easier for me, but I still put the graft in.
So that moves me nicely onto the next member of the panel. The opinions are venomous. The opinions are venomous. They are unfiltered and they are well-dressed. Always well-dressed, immaculately, not gonna lie. But beyond aesthetics, this person is massively intelligent. She can definitely talk a little bit more about the things she studied, but then also the advocacy for environmental activism as well is hugely important. And this is the person that just basically told all them white people wildlife TV in Britain is done out here. And it was amazing. Please welcome to the panel, Selina Chian. Did I say that right, by the way?
Yeah.
Cool.
Chian, yeah, exactly how it's spelled.
There you go. Perfect.
I'm similar to Jamie in the sense that I have a background in science. I studied biology, did a master's in tropical ecology. So my heart is absolutely the little nature nerd. And I wish that I could spend my entire career just looking at the really interesting phenomena and going out and studying what I care about. But at a very early point, I was like, nah, it's not working. What we're doing is not translating to the people that need to hear it. And so then I started moving into photojournalism and wildlife photography, mostly working in the tropics, just going out there and kind of like what you were talking about with the researching, and you find something cool and then you want to advocate for it. For me, it's like I find a problem out there in the world, and how can I use communication and media and visual storytelling to fix that problem in the environmental spaces, and using photojournalism. And to the bane of many scientists, it's like simplifying something really complicated into 12 photos or a short film that you can put forward to a forestry minister of a country. It's like you can read all the papers, or you can sit down for 5 minutes and have your heart ripped out of your chest and put back in, and know exactly what you need to do to help solve this problem.
One of your photos was featured in the Wildlife Photographer of the Year, the most recent exhibition, wasn't it?
Yes.
Round of applause for that.
What was it of?
It's a photograph of an orangutan. It was in the photojournalism category, and it's a photograph of an orangutan, a Bornean orangutan that I saw in a zoo. And it's just one of those
You know what, we're
photos.
going to pull the visual up behind
We'll
you.
pull
as
it
we're
up.
talking about it. So it's there right now. It's there right now.
Because my favorite thing to do as a visual storyteller is to make people question what it means to be human.
Yes, and that brings us nicely to the last member on our panel. Last but not least, by any means, I had the pleasure of meeting this guy pretty early on, actually. I think on this panel, this is the first guy I actually met, to be fair. I was flocked together, was a new idea, introduced to the world, and I've got a message randomly one day on Instagram saying, in so few words, bro, I love what you're doing. I think it's so important. Massive, massive ratings. Do you want to come out and ring birds with me one day, basically? Nothing more, nothing less, no catch, no nothing.
What's ringing a bird?
Ringing a good question. So ringing a bird sounds like something
Yeah,
good to
Should we
clarify.
get the obvious jokes out now?
Yeah, exactly. Episode
Forever.
1, get them out.
Yeah.
Episode 1, get them out.
Do you want to Harry? Do you want to just run through them quick for the rest? Yeah.
But no, ringing a bird, and Jamie, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically setting up a mist net which is specially engineered to cause as little harm as possible to the birds themselves. There is still a risk, there's always a risk, but it's hugely minimized. Basically catching them, taking them off, putting a small ring with a serial number on the bird, taking some measurements, just to get insights into local population trends, into the migration patterns of particular birds as well, and to generally just acquire more information on any chosen species. And that collectively with other ringing information from all the other ringers across the world and the country can actually provide a very, very useful data bank for people.
And sorry, importantly, not just ringing, but people who are watching birds. It means that we can talk about birds on this kind of individual level, right? So you're not just looking at a tree full of chaffinches, you're looking at a tree full of individual chaffinches who you've known for a long time, right?
Which is so beautiful to like cultivate. I mean, this is the storyteller here.
Sure, yeah.
This is the person who left science. Yeah. But like to be able to recognize animals as individuals rather than just this blob of things.
See the journey that they've made all over the world come back.
Exactly.
I think what we've done so far, right? You guys are at one end of this spectrum, from like the coalface of learning about what our tree full of chaffinches are doing and how you communicate that to Mrs. Jones. Did you say that, or did Harry say Mrs. Jones? How you communicate that to Mrs. Jones?
The white middle class lady.
The white middle class lady.
Yeah?
Or
the audience
anybody,
that
right?
we should go for.
Like, that bit's your job. You choose who you communicate that information to. You choose how you communicate that information to. I'll be doing plenty of complaining about how you guys are communicating that information.
Well, he is now studying his PhD, which he describes as Big Brother of house sparrows. So welcome to the panel, Jamie Dunning.
So my PhD, which is what I've been doing for the last few years, is on kind of social interactions and how social interactions influence sexual choice, right? Reproductive choice.
In house sparrows.
As well as being the most knowledgeable bird person I know, just straight up, hands down, no disrespect.
That says more about you,
No
but cool.
disrespect. All right, thanks. Yeah, I was trying to pick you up. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to big you up here, JB.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to bring it down.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying to,
yeah.
like, I want realistic.
But you got a round of applause for the PhD as well. Round of applause for the PhD. It's on the way. It's on the way. I know it's coming. Jamie also, did you invent? Is it right to say you invented the sunglasses for the puffin?
Yeah, I did invent sunglasses for puffins. Yeah.
The graphic is going to be behind you, right?
Oh, good, because I've never seen that graphic enough times. Yeah, weird time. I put a puffin. So we did this stuff on how puffins use light, right? So a puffin's bill is super colourful, and that's how a puffin is interacting with the light it has available to it. And the long and short of it was I published this paper which described how certain parts of their bill fluoresce. So they're using UV light, but that isn't UV reflected light, that's UV absorbed. That knocks electrons off, blah, 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 physics, and it comes out yellow, right? Visible signal. And we tried to publish it, and they said, your puffin's dead, so really we'd like proof that this works on a real puffin. We're not going to go and shine high intensity UV lights at a live puffin.
How did the puffin die?
We found the puffin dead.
Is that science talk?
Yeah, that's
like,
it,
is that
we
science
found
talk
it
for
dead.
we
No,
killed the puffin?
I actually had the puffin before I did the work. So I had a freezer with lots of different dead birds in it. And I did this on a few different things. I was actually interested in feathers, but I thought the puffin's bill, that's an ornament, maybe that works. So yeah, we did that, and they came back and said we need it on live birds, and we can't just shine UV lights at live birds, so we invented sunglasses.
This table here has the future of wildlife, no doubt, no question. And we hope to change that in the near future. But as an homage to the past, we have chosen a topic today, and we are going to pay homage to all the white folk that were on the screens, because we're because, what do you say?
So represent.
Represent.
Big up, Happy.
Yes, Harry. You're supposed to feel that way.
Harry, I don't know about you, but I've always felt we're not represented.
It's really hard for me, you know, like, honestly, really hard.
But we are going to pay homage because, with the exception of Selena, I think we are all born and raised in the UK. And we grew up watching these people, and they definitely inspired us and influenced us. And I have massive, massive respect for all the wildlife filmmakers that have been on TV until now. Things change, guys. That's all it is. You know what I'm saying?
Things are already changing. You'll see by there's some good votes.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see some good votes. So what we are doing today, we have had our panel here, as well as one more who is going to definitely be featured on the panel in further episodes, Chantel. Big up Chantel as well, yeah? Big up. She couldn't be here today, but she'll definitely be making a return. Her vote's in here as well. Catch her on CBBS and all of that good stuff as well. Votes coming from scientists, votes coming from, what's that face for?
No, I was like, what's CBB?
Oh, CBBS. It's like the
kids'
baby.
BBC. Like,
It's the baby BBC. So you got CBBC. No, you got BBC, CBBC, which is children's CBBC, then CBBS.
like kids, very young. So she's basically inspiring the whole next generation.
Exactly.
That's what she's doing right
Whole
now.
middle class white kid generation.
No, CBBS is the forefront.
Honestly, she's doing bits for everybody. Everybody.
We should also shout out Ranger Hamza at this point, right?
Wow.
Wait. Before we start dropping names.
Also, Jamie only ended up voting for this guy because I voted.
All right,
for him.
cool. We'll get into that later.
I didn't put him on my list.
We are here to announce our panel's vote on the top 5 wildlife TV presenters of all time. It's going to be interesting. Pardon?
In the UK.
In the UK. That's a good point.
If you want to go globally, I'd be interested.
But
to
we
talk
did. There's
about
some
the global
international
figures that I don't know about, because a lot of these people we're talking about, you don't know about. So
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to hear about people that I've never heard about.
We can do a next
before.
episode, non-UK ones, baby. You know what I'm saying? But there are non-UK ones on this list. I will say that.
We
And
did
it's also
go.
but it's like the presenter format is a very UK thing. Like
Do you
having a
reckon?
presenter on screen talking about it, it's a very UK thing.
Is it?
Because the American, like North American equivalent I guess, would be like Nat Geo Wild,
Yeah,
which is
like-
mostly narration.
Animal Planet. Animal Planet.
Exactly.
Do you know what I
Discovery
don't like about
Channel.
that is like they have something. This is going to be slating somebody, but like Savage Kingdoms, it's all like anthropomorphized.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah,
lions
yeah,
are
yeah.
talking to each other, and I hate it.
Oh really?
I cannot
Yeah,
deal
I
with it,
agree.
and it's
No.
Nat Geo Wild style stuff. That's. But if there's better stuff,
And
then
do you know
I'm
what
up for
is-
American
I
wildlife,
hate it
but
as well. It's like bear versus.
Yeah, and the American voiceover, I actually can't deal with it. You know, I'm not gonna lie.
well,
I
I've
fully
worked on
can't.
American television. You just have to go full cringe. Like you have to put full cringe into.
Is Megalodon still alive?
Largest, the biggest, and the best.
Which is also just sensationalizing and also
Yeah.
villainizing a lot of wildlife.
The
out
hyenas
there.
are always the bad guys.
Big up hyena. That's my favorite animal.
Yeah,
still,
innit?
not gonna lie, favorite animal. hands
Female
down.
dominant society.
Then,
Big up.
all right then.
Matriarchy.
All right then. Big up the matriarchy. Yeah. Big up my grandma. Yeah. Big up my grandma. Yeah. But yeah, if you are an American filmmaker, no disrespect, you know what I'm saying? Wildlife filmmaker, no disrespect. We just think your voice is whack over the film, you know what I'm saying? We can have an opinion, can't we? You know what I'm saying? It's not right or wrong.
Also, please stop making Hitler's secret submarines. Like,
Yeah,
we can't
oh,
keep watching that.
Jesus Christ. Okay, before we go any deeper into that wormhole, we are going to start with, first we'll do honorable mentions of names I thought are worthy of mention that didn't get a single vote. And we'll start with America, actually. Jeff Corwin.
I voted for Jeff Corwin.
Did you vote for Jeff Corwin?
I don't know who Jeff is.
Do you
Is that
not?
bad?
We had
You
this
didn't,
conversation.
you didn't vote for Jeff Corwin.
We
So
had
you
this-
I asked for 5, you
Yeah.
gave me 10, and Jeff Corwin was not in the top 5.
But he was in my top 10, right?
Yeah, he was in your top 10. What did I just say? It was top.
There were 10.
Yeah, no,
Right.
you're allowed 5.
Yeah.
Researcher who can't count. Like, all my new sides can't count, honestly.
I just want to state that he was in my like 5 to 10.
Yeah, he was in your 10, but not in the top 5, which is the only thing that matters. So
I was thinking that 10 was a lot.
anyway, Jeff Corwin is most famous for a show called The Jeff Corwin Experience, right?
Likes his own name then, yeah?
Pardon?
Likes his own name.
Yeah, of course. That was
Show
the trend
off
back
his
in the
own
day,
name.
though. That
Do you
was
know
the-
who that reminds me of? Somebody and me.
What's that? What's
the
somebody and me?
polar bears and me.
Oh, yeah. Jeez. There's that famous clip of Jeff with the harpy eagle, and he's got it on his arm. We'll get it up. The graphic will be behind anyway. And it's just constantly like pecking at him. And yeah, I like Jeff. Big up Jeff, man. And
Was
he's
it good? I've got no judgments.
You gotta do your
I've never seen
research.
it, but I've never seen it.
You got to do the research. Watch Jeff, man. I rate Jeff, and I think I grew up watching the guy, and I feel like he should have been on the list, but I didn't vote for him myself, to be
He
honest.
should have been in my top 5. I sent you the wrong 5 clearly. Like, he should like he was like the antidote to Steve Irwin in the 90s.
Yeah,
wasn't
100%.
he? Like if you weren't
100%.
keen on Steve
100%.
like wrestling crocodiles, Jeff was your guy.
Totally agree. So he was represented for the American wildlife naturalist for sure. He wasn't actually cringe. Big up, Jeff, if you're watching. If you want to come on the show, shout me as well. Next
Well,
one.
when he has a go at you for not being in the top 5.
Nobody voted for you, but
Yeah,
come on the
nobody
show.
voted for you, bro, but if you want to unpack that,
We'd really like.
Is that of not knowing?
yeah.
Prove us
yeah.
wrong. Prove us wrong, Jeff.
You get what I'm saying, Jeff? Where's your new content, B? Where's the new content? Cool. One more honourable mention that I think is quite surprising didn't get a vote, actually.
Didn't get one vote.
Didn't get one vote, and this is a big name not to get a vote, you know.
Is it you?
Nah, it's not me. Come on, bro. I'm glad you think that of me, though. Oh, thank you.
Man's
Thank
voted
you.
for himself. innit? He's got a vote.
I am
got
not
one
that
vote.
tasteless. I am not that tasteless. I would never vote for myself. I'm not even in that conversation. Not yet. Michaela Strachan. Not a single. Ooh, that's a stinger. That one. That's a stinger.
Any opinions, Celia?
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Michaela Strachan is famous. Well, she came onto the scene on the Really Wild show. Right?
Back in the day, it's
Yeah.
what I grew up with. Like,
Yeah,
Exactly.
television.
That's like really popping in
I
the
was
90s.
actually on the Really Wild Show at one point.
Who?
Me,
You were on it.
as a child, like very little.
One of
kid.
the schools that
Yeah,
were on it.
yeah. Doing like pitfall traps and looking at beetles. Kind of thing. Yeah. Back in day. Find that on YouTube.
There
Yeah,
you
try.
go. There you go. Did you meet Michaela?
Nah, it was I can't remember his name now. What's the geezer who likes bugs?
Nick Baker.
Nick Baker.
Yeah,
That's
Nick
the one.
Baker.
Nick
He's in
Baker
my
back in the day.
top
Because
five.
he's got sort of gone down a little bit. Nick
He's
Baker,
gone
hasn't
quiet.
He
He's
used
not
to.
gone down.
Nah, not.
He's
But he
gone
doesn't.
quiet.
When was the last time you saw a program with Nick Baker on?
Yeah, but he's still doing lots of writing.
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
I'm just saying in the media space.
He does
Anyway.
BirdLife. He writes for BirdLife.
Yeah, he writes
he?
BirdLife.
Cool.
He writes for BBC Wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty active on Twitter. He does lots of survey work. He's doing lots of actual field work.
Big up Michaela, like one of the earliest influences on me, but there's just 5 names I thought had a slightly more influence.
Also, sorry, the only person on our list who's got a song dedicated to them by Scouting for Girls.
Is it?
Yeah.
Michaela.
Oh, great song.
Yeah.
Michaela Strachan, You Broke My Heart.
Yeah,
Nah,
yeah.
nah,
Aye.
It's called.
You
It's
tore
not-
me apart.
Isn't it called It's Not Gonna Happen for Me and the Strachan? I think that's what it's called.
Honestly.
I think, you know what, I think she was a lot of man's first crush though.
Honestly, I used to fancy
I
Michaela
did as well, and I
growing
didn't
up,
want to
100.
reduce it to that, but fuck it.
Can we get
went there,
Scouting for
innit?
Girls on the blue screen?
Yeah, probably. If we're not getting copyrighted, yeah, we can do. If they don't get the images, we can. Cool. Should we do? I'll do 2 honourable mentions that did get votes. Chantel did get some votes. Didn't make it into the top 5, but I definitely think Chantel is gonna be in the top 5 very, very soon. Big up Chantel. Like I said, she will be here very, very, very soon. She is the Most Venomous gang as well. And yeah, I think it's worth mentioning as well. The faces on the panel will rotate. There's just a group chat with a bag of us, but it will be the same faces coming in and out depending on who's available, basically. Yeah, so hopefully Chantel will be back in. Big up Chantel.
I think the thing with Chantel is that, like, I was one of the ones that voted for her because I was so desperate as a little kid to see someone that just looked like me, or like just see
100%.
someone that where it wasn't just removed from you. Like, I feel like as a child, when your brain is still developing, like, and you're still figuring out who and what and like how you're going to interact with the world, seeing yourself and seeing yourself reflected in media is so important. And like, I'm just it makes me really happy. It makes me
100%.
like, that, like, little kids are not going to have the same experience as I did. I mean, it's a shame that like CBeebies and CBC is coming off general air.
Is it?
Budget.
Is it?
But yeah,
But me and
license
you-
fee cuts.
me and you
Let's not get
are
into
the-
it.
Me and you are the
But-
only people that voted for Chantel. So
Yeah, but I think it's also like representation is one of those things that you don't realize you're missing it until you see it.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it's important because you don't know who you are, you don't know what your place in the world is like, and so it's like why people just can't understand representation.
Nah,
really
genuinely,
Yeah.
genuinely.
100%.
I've never had those feelings because
Yeah.
we've always
and
seen
you don't
those
even
people.
know that you're missing it until you see it, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this is something I could do, and this
Yeah.
is something that I can see myself going toward.
Well, like, the reason I became a researcher was actually because like I did some volunteering where I was helping PhD people in Kenya, and I was working with Kenya Wildlife Service, and I saw someone that I'd worked with on TV in a documentary, and I was like, oh, there's the people behind, there's people on screen, there's like, it's people that I know, and like that was my big realization, like I can do this, like that's my in. But like before that, I'd not even considered media, I'd not even considered like science storytelling. It was always kind of very much science focused and let other people do the telling of the stories. But like that's why this is so important. This is like why the face of nature and wildlife TV has to change, because you need everyone to be inspired across the board and like look at the people that are on TV and in front of them and start seeing themselves represented.
in nature, everyone is connected, baby. We're all interconnected, blood. So we all gotta be here. Do you get what I'm saying? It's a joint effort in the blood clot thing. One more. Sorry, go on, Selena, go on.
It's one of those things as well where like I have found myself in the industry because I have always been like, I'm mixed race, and I live in a family with like it's different races, different cultures, different languages. I've never lived in the country that I'm from. Like, no matter where I am, I'm the other. Even if it's like, if I'm in China with Chinese people, they're like, no, but you're not Chinese. If I'm in Europe with European people, they're like, no, you're not European. And it's here now, I'm living in the UK. I'm not a real Londoner. But like, no matter what, I'm always the outsider, which is why I'm like, representation never really mattered that much to me as a child. It wasn't a huge barrier because I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it anyway because I don't belong anywhere anyway as it is. And it's just not fair that you have to be the like resilient and
100%.
strong-minded and confident person.
100%.
You know, you mentioned earlier, you had to like crash into it and work super hard and fight your own corner constantly, like elbows out. It's just not fair that like the shy people can't also do it, you know?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's the reason why this is important, because it's the whole argument quite often is like, yeah, but you just have to stand up for yourself more.
Break
and
down
ask-
those barriers.
Yeah,
It's like, I don't
ask
want
for
to
the
work for that.
raise. And it's like, I don't want to have to be resilient.
Yeah.
I just want to have a nice time. and again, it's like nature, we're all connected. Nature is the only place where I have ever been like, I belong here.
100%.
And no
Yeah.
one can tell me that I can't belong here.
100%.
And no one can tell me that this, I'm different or an outsider or whatever.
Everyone's
It's just
space.
Yeah.
It's just yeah.
So that brings us to first on our list, number 5, as voted for by this esteemed panel. They got a total of, how many points was it? It was 4. So it was only one person that voted for them, but they voted for them quite highly, so they caused them total score to go up.
How did you calculate this?
So
Just out of interest.
if your top pick is 5 points,
Okay.
second pick is 4, etc. Yeah, and number 5 on the list is none other than Mr. Nick Baker himself, as voted for by Jamie. As
that
voted
me?
for by Jamie. Yes.
I reckon Harry nailed it. That, you guys are talking about representation on TV. I think for both of us, right?
It's always been there.
Also,
Haven't even had a second thought.
we
about
didn't
it.
think about
I
representation
didn't have
because
that
everyone on
before.
TV looked like me and you.
100%.
So we didn't sit there thinking, God, why does everyone look like? Because we just look at Nick Baker and we go, that's a cool earring. I could have that, and I'd look like him. But what I really admire about Nick is that I have this real thing that I see these people and I don't want the like facade of it. And I know that Nick, he was talking about his passion, and then he goes and does it. You see that. He's out, he's talking at conferences, he's at Bird Fair talking about field work, he's not talking about a project, he's out there talking about his ringoozle surveys, which he does every year, and he's out there talking about, I think he's great. He was the guy I really looked up to, because
Do you know what?
because he was deeds, not words.
I'd like to see more of him. It's just like you say, he's moved away from that mainstream media and more into the scientific community, but still obviously going to all these talks and doing all these things, but from a general person who doesn't go to these things or doesn't interact with all these things, I'd like to see more of him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
100%.
It's easy though to go on your website and be like, I am these things, right? But that's just words. What Nick did, the world presents you this guy who's passionate about what he's talking about, and then he backs it up, right? And I saw that and I was like, this guy is like me, because he's going out with his binoculars and looking for ringoozles.
Didn't he? He had another show, Nick's Weird Creatures or something like that, where he went out trying to find really strange stuff, and it was good. Big up Nick, man. Where you at, Nick, man? You gone quiet, bro. Yeah, come back, Nick. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate you. Brings us nicely to number 4.
Just below podium.
Just below podium.
Just missed out on podium.
And this one, you know what? I'm not mad at this one, to be fair. I'm actually not mad at this one because I grew up watching them quite a lot. Number 4 is Simon King.
Oh, the
Simon
big
King.
Simon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I back Simon
Yeah?
massively. He's less so now a presenter, and he definitely backed away. He used to do a lot of the Spring Watch stuff, do you know what I mean? But he's backed away and he's now more camera op-in, but he's a legend, like OG. The best fieldcraft of anybody I've ever met in my life. So we're out filming a species that I'm not allowed to talk about, but...
So you've worked with him?
I've worked with... Simon's been shooting stuff for us. And we have this raptor that's coming in and we've got to wait for it, and I'm looking through my binoculars, but Simon doesn't need me there. He's there like, oh, look at those tits up there. Great tits, blue tits, not actual tits for anybody who's not into... Look at those tits up there. They're flying in a certain way. They're cool in a certain way. Peregrine's going to come over in a minute. You're like, whatever. Like 2 minutes later, something comes. Blah, blah, blah. And then these birds are flying in a slightly different way. He's like, oh, the bird we're waiting for is going to come over in 2 minutes. Comes over. The best fieldcraft. You can hear, listen. Amazing. Honestly, it's not for camera for him. He lives, breathes wildlife, knows these things inside out, and is a true...
I'm not going to lie. The Big Cat Diary... was...
That's old, man.
That's old. But that's my only... Because me and you are the only ones that voted for him, by the way, yeah? And...
Big up, Simon.
Big up, Simon. Big up. Because the one thing I watched you on, or watched Simon on, was the Big Cat Diary. And that was like innovation in the filmmaking space. Yes, it was presenter-led, but it was almost like a magazine show. It was just like all these different presenters following Like, so you'd have Simon, who was on this Pride of Lions. Then you'd have, what was the other Donny's name? With the moustache.
I haven't watched Big Cat Diaries
Oh, I
since
can't
I was
remember his
like
name. I
a
gotta
kid.
get
It was
his
like
name.
1990 something when it was.
No, it was early 2000s. It was
it?
early 2000s. I don't want to do the guy dirty, man. I don't want to do the guy dirty. I want to get his name up. Silent King. Jonathan Scott. Yeah, Jonathan Scott. Man used to follow the cheaters around, and another one is following the leopards, etc., etc. And you were following, similar to your Love Island with the house sparrows. You were following these individuals in these different species and growing with them. You'd see this lion cub be born, then it gets outcasted, then it gets its own family. You know what I'm saying? You're going on the journey, and I think he had a big hand in concepting that idea as well, Simon. So it was like big respect, and it's one of the key influences in my life. Definitely being a young boy in the hood in East London, basically, and seeing that, you know, it was just the innovation. And as I'm older, I appreciate the innovation as well as a creative process.
Can I ask, how did you come across wildlife programs?
That's a great question, you know.
As someone who grew up where you grew up
Yes.
in this culture.
So, two main influences. Number one, my mum used to take us to Sri Lanka every year. She just used to take us to Sri Lanka and we'd be there for the whole summer. You know what I'm saying? Don't see no friends in England. You know what I'm saying? Every summer we're in Sri Lanka, in the jungle, outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, not in the jungle, you're at my family's houses, but we go out and we play in the jungle, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like, running around the forest and stuff. You can't escape wildlife there. So I've said this like before, from being in Sri Lanka and seeing all of that life around you, I would come back to London and look for it in London. You get me? And it was just like, I took to wildlife and just when I saw it on TV, I got into it. And I also had my uncle, big up my uncle, who'll know who he is. He just used to like get mad blazed and just sit with me and watch wildlife shows. And it was Attenborough, like we used to watch a lot. But we just used to watch hella wildlife shows together, and I really enjoyed it, you know, like, so that was how I got into it. But yeah, Big Cat Diary, Elite Series, man, Elite Series. Simon, you need to reload that concept there and do it with something else, because yeah, that was for the people, and I think it would do well in this class.
Can I just jump in as well and say, just finishing off on something, and probably about the rest of the presenters we've got, I don't know who they are, but there are a lot of, these are the top, there are a lot of presenters I work with, which we'll probably come on to in other episodes, who are absolute cunts, to be honest with you. I'm calling it out first episode. Like, you don't know who it will come out eventually, but there are lots who are very up themselves, and because of the position they've come in and how long they've been there, they think they have a right to treat people in a certain way, and to be honest, they're put on a pedestal. However, Simon, a lot of these people we've already spoken about, Michaela, Nick, all great people. But yeah, we're bigging up these people, but just so you know, there are some dirty dogs.
And that's why you ain't on the list, okay? That's why you ain't on the list, okay? If you're one of those people, bossing people around, treating people like shit.
Are we talking about why we didn't put people on our lists? Or are we skipping that?
Oh, that's another episode. Worst to work
But
with.
it's not
Everything
work.
gets bleeped.
Rejected.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to number 3 then. Number 3 on our list of top 5 wildlife TV presenters of all time is, this is my goal. This was my top pick, to be honest with you. None other than Steve Irwin himself.
This is the first one that I know.
Celia, take the mic. Talk.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely, huge testament to him. I loved him growing up. I was living in China, and so we had like Australian presence, and I went to international school, and all my teachers were Australian. I had an Australian accent to begin with, and then my parents knocked it out of me. But I remember getting that DVD with him on the front with the crocodiles, and people telling me, like, girls aren't supposed to like crocodiles and snakes, and me being like, fuck you.
What was that program called?
Crocodile Hunter.
Crocodile Hunter.
Yeah.
And then there was Croc Files.
Yeah,
Like
Croc
spin-off.
Files was a
Croc
spin-off.
Fi- yo.
That's right. With his wife Terry.
Yeah, Terry and his daughter Bindi, they were all up in there, bruv. sick.
She's the one who
sick.
got cancelled for her big SeaWorld contract, right?
Did she?
Is it?
I didn't know
Yeah.
she did that.
Probably.
Wow.
Yeah, I also saw her on Australia's Drag Race a few weeks ago.
Wow. But you know what? I think the reason Steve has to be my GOAT is because he was the first guy I saw, first person I saw, full stop, in the wildlife space that made it exciting. Do you get what I'm saying? Man, pick up the snake. Crikey, mate! Like, he's lively. You know what I'm saying? Like,
She beautiful.
yeah, beauty. What a beauty. Like, big up. You're upstairs now. God rest your soul, Steve. But you still got love down here, baby. You still got mad love. And I think you're going to have mad love for years and years to come.
His son's taking the place, isn't it? Like, his son's going to be doing what he's doing. It's going to come next new season, honestly.
Yeah, and I gotta say, sorry.
You go.
No, I gotta say that, like, as much as I loved Steve Irwin, because it was the same, it was like being at school and playing with crickets and people being like, ew, and me being like, who else is excited about this? But it's also something that I don't think could ever happen again. Because now it's someone who's older and like, that animal is in a lot of distress.
Yeah.
Please leave him
Jumping
alone.
on the
Or
back of
please
things.
leave her alone. And I think it also, like, there's just a risk. And it probably did contribute to it to a certain extent. Of like people being like, "That's a really cool snake. I can hold them now. I want one as a pet."
Yeah,
And that's one of the biggest problems especially in the world of reptiles, conservation and welfare and everything. So it's one of those things that, like, I have so much respect for in the past and how it influenced me. But I don't think it doesn't have a place in the future.
But also, right, that appeals to children more than it would appeal to adults,
Yeah.
right? There's a reason we all like him, because we were all kids in the 90s and the
Yeah.
early 2000s.
Jumping on the back of a car.
But I don't know, like, nowadays on TikTok, like, the most popular accounts are people holding animals, and you know what I mean?
No, you're right. The pet trade is a massive thing, but I think mentioning the time is very important because it was a time where, okay, like, people weren't as woke as they are now, for lack of a better term. But I feel like the pros outweighed the cons in that situation. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, the accessibility he brought to nature and the readiness to identify yourself with that, Donnie, your excitement, your passion for it. I just think he inspired so many more genuine naturalists than he did wildlife smugglers. Do you get what I'm saying? But you're right. In this climate, probably he couldn't do it. But yeah, those animals were probably stressed out. You know what I'm saying?
But if we're all sat here going, yeah, that guy was a huge influence in why I do what I do, then some benefit came from it,
Exactly.
right? But also, we can also say he wasn't doing that professionally, right? Around those animals.
He was a professional wrangler, bruv.
Yeah,
he was
wrangler,
a pro, blood.
but that stingray didn't want wrangling.
No.
You
Yeah,
know
but
what I mean?
You know what? Now we're gonna get conspiracy theories. I don't think he even died like that. I think it's a conspiracy.
All right, next. He's next.
My question is, would he been jumping on those things, grabbing them things out anyway if the camera wasn't there? That's the point.
Probably.
If he was anyway,
Do you know what?
I think so. That's the thing.
There you
That's
go.
like the infectious enthusiasm that he did.
But
He would
all right,
totally
all right.
be doing
Here's
it.
one. Would his family still be doing it if that wasn't his legacy?
Yeah,
Because you watch, was her name Bindi Irwin?
And
She was.
Robert as well.
Yeah,
His
Robert
son-
Irwin.
his
That's
son,
his son.
He was the
That's his
baby,
son,
wasn't
yeah.
he?
No, but
Big
he's
up Robert as well.
literally
Big up Robert.
he's wham now, I swear.
spitting. No, but he's like the spitting image of him. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
but they're still jumping on crocodiles and they're still supporting, SeaWorld and
yeah.
you know,
And
that
he
is-
goes onto the Jimmy Kimmel show with a sloth
With a
holding it,
sloth,
and that's just
right.
like,
All right, cool. Let's round off Steve Irwin. But I just think the GOAT, in my opinion, if he was around today, he would still be the GOAT as far as I'm concerned. To be honest, 100%. Big up, Steve. Very worthy. Number 3. Number 2 on our list is none other than Springwatch's own Chris Packham, the Big Pack. Big up yourself, Chris, as well. Big up yourself. I've bucked Chris a couple times. He's always been friendly. But he's a polarizing topic. I've around this table alone, I've heard a few opinions.
alleged opinions.
Alleged opinions. What do you allegedly think about Chris Packham, Jamie?
Why are you looking at me?
I'm just because you haven't spoken, so I'm just coming to you, asking you.
I admire Chris's skill in the field, right? And Chris is another one of these, like, I admire that he what he talks about, he knows. But for me, it's relatable role models. You know, like Chris on camera, and what I've seen, which is very limited of Chris off camera, that's not relatable to me. You know what I mean? And that's a thing for me. It doesn't have to be for anybody else.
Can I ask an honest question?
Yeah.
What is not relatable about him? Because you're both white men. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, legit. I'm not even trying to banter. Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, there's more to it, right? Like, Michaela was, you know, I looked up to Michaela for a long time. I'm not a white woman, you know, but Chris, hey, and I admire Chris, and he's been part of projects that I've been really involved in, and I don't know. There's just something. I think it comes with the personality, right? I don't like the stardom thing.
But
I don't like the personality thing.
He might not relate to you, but
No one's asking him to.
Chris, yeah, exactly. But Chris is on the spectrum, isn't he? So he's relating to people. What he doesn't need to relate to. He's relating to certain people.
Sure.
A lot of the wildlife people and nature people are on the spectrum. 100%. So many people who like being outside, spending hours stalking, finding animals, getting really obsessed with it. Like, so
To be honest, Harry, I'm on that spectrum. Lots of people are,
but you still don't relate to him.
I don't relate to. It's because I relate to, like, you know, I'm very, very, very specific. If it's got feathers, I'm interested, and if it hasn't, I'm actually overly cynical and not very good company. And you know, like, what I like about Chris is when we're on TV, when he's on TV and he's talking about birds, and I relate to that. When he's not on TV and I'm the one catching the birds in the background, I'm not going to go into this.
No, go into it.
No, I'm not going into it
All
because
right.
I've got. Look, if it's not going in, I don't. You know, the like matching Gucci fucking bucket hat. That's not me, right?
I'm not gonna lie. So we did a march, RSPB WWF march, at COP26, yeah, in Scotland. Can't remember which city.
It's Glasgow.
In Glasgow. Big up Glasgow, yeah. And he did an opening speech, and I spoke after him, and the way this brother Chris pulled up in the Prada puffer jacket with the Prada hat and the Prada side bag, I said, drippy. I said, this Donny is drippy. I relate to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's. You know what it is? I like, you know, the stardom thing that you touched on. I like when a star is a star. I like it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, you're supposed to be like. But
this is
you've been doing this since the 90s, Chris.
But this is individual preference, right? We're talking about relatable role models. For me, I haven't got millions of pounds. You've seen my flat. Yeah. You know, like, I like scruffy jeans and watching birds, and that's what I relate to. That's what I see. That's what I understand. And
why not both, Jamie? Why not both?
Well, but you can have both. But I kind of, you know, like, I see this guy on TV and I'm like, this guy's like me. And then he arrives and I'm like,
and he's not.
He's not like me. You know? Do you know what I'm saying? And I struggle with that. There's a disconnect. It's not just Chris. I could apply that to pretty much anybody on that list. But that's because what I do and what they do are different jobs.
Yeah.
Fair play.
And I think this also speaks to a whole other debate of, like, what a wildlife person is supposed to look like. And it's interesting that it's coming up as we talk about a man, because one of the biggest criticisms I get within the industry as someone who has worked extensively in the field is like, why do you care about what you wear? And why do you care about what you look like and all this stuff? And it's like, these things are not mutually exclusive.
No, of course.
And it's also like, and this is the thing where it's like, I don't think Chris Packham is actually accessing a different audience by being all of those things. And it's slightly different if you are like Flock Together, doing collaborations with big brands and accessing a whole new audience. That's where it's cool.
Hey, though, it's important I say here that my issue is not the brands, right? My issue is not how he looks. It's not what he wears. It's just that the way he comes across on TV, and we have an insight, right? We've all worked with him off. It's just not the same. That's my issue. And that I really, really, because I'm naive to this, I want people who I want to like those people as characters. I want them to carry on being that character.
I disagree. I really disagree. Like, having met him off camera, he is like so excited about like those really niche and interesting things like that. Like, as much as he is in like Prada bucket hats or whatever, like he is.
Which is sick, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're not critiquing. We've like done. We should get a Prada collab.
Prada.
Mentioned it like 8 times. But like he does, like that switch doesn't like. doesn't come off like we don't need to give him like really detailed research notes. Like we'll just mention something and he'll be like, yeah.
Do you know what? I'll share a story. So I was on the Springwatch set one day, and the only day I've ever been on there. And
You're welcome.
and yeah, big up no. It's all about your networks and that. But anyway, so I was kind of feeling you're sharing your sentiments because obviously I was aware like he's autistic and he's a big advocate for autism and I rate him for that as well. Represent your people, them.
Yeah, man.
And but I was thinking, yeah, he's not said anything to me, and I was like, is it narcissistic of me to think he should say hello to me? But it's just like when you're on set, you want the chemistry between everyone. But right when it mattered, when just as we were about to go on, literally as we were about to go live, he come up to us, both me and Ollie, and he goes, "Good luck, boys." I said, "Top guy, top guy," because I don't know, I can't relate to having like autism. Do you get me? I don't think I am. So I don't know how much effort it takes him. And he's not only has he got autism, he's mad famous, bro. Like in this country. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like there's probably people that want to have a million convos with him every single day, which is hard enough as it is.
Also, the stick he gets, this man who has dead badgers slaughtered,
Yeah,
dropped on his step,
Yeah.
people blocking his driveway, burning
100%.
down his fence, like what? Because he's outspoken.
That's why I voted for him. Because I, like, as someone who, you know, I knew Steve Irwin, I knew him growing up. I did not know who Chris Packham was until I moved to this country. And even then, didn't know who he was until he was hosting the Wildlife Photographer of the Year. And I was like, okay, I guess that's someone I should look up.
100%.
But the reason why I voted for him is because everything he does off camera, and what he stands for and what he advocates for, and the
100%.
conservation message that he's pushing. And it's not just everything is fine in the beautiful countryside. It's this is all at stake. This is really important, and it's using his voice for a greater cause.
And he has opinions, and he sees in black and white, and sometimes that doesn't go down well with people. But I think it needs to.
He's right.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, some people would say with some topics that he's not right. He's not looking at the whole picture of other top things that come in. But the point still needs to be made. And the first time I worked on Springwatch, literally sat down for dinner or lunch anyway, like just sort of getting ready, really nervous. Looked to my left, Chris come and sat right next to me. You know what I mean? He's not the kind of presenter who's going to go away, hide away in his cabin, only come out. He talks to people. He's friendly. He's lovely. He wants to work with you. He wants,
Yeah, even when, because I was on Springwatch when it was full COVID, and it was like he couldn't be with the whole team because we were a risk, but he would still make time to like get down with us and just chat. Even if it's like, oh, you worked on this this short film, like, and just chat to us about an insect or a bird or something. Like there was like he's incredibly relatable when you meet him and chat to him.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think it's necessarily like a persona or anything.
no, essentially, big up Chris.
Yeah.
Big up, Chris.
Big up yourself.
Big up, Chris. You're nearly the GOAT. Not quite. We're going to get on to the GOAT right now. According to this very esteemed panel, the greatest wildlife TV presenter of all time, which is none other, I think it's pretty predictable, guys. It is none other than Sir David Frederick Attenborough.
Is that his middle name?
That is his middle name.
Wait, that's
He's a
my
Freddie.
middle name as well.
Is it? Oh, don't beg it,
Yeah,
man. Not allow begging
My
it, bro.
guy.
So relatable.
So relatable, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, so any surprises there?
no.
Not at all.
Are we just skipping talking about this one?
Well, he's the only one who reached me in China
There you go.
properly.
There you go.
Even though
properly.
he's a white middle class male, how do you still enjoy him? Do you still perceive him?
Well, because I didn't see him on screen. He's just a voice.
I also think that like that. No offense.
No, I'm taking this open conversation.
But
It's
like,
just stuff I don't
but
understand.
for people that have never not been represented, like the feeling of not being represented isn't like an affront. Like
No.
it's just that you aren't, and you don't know what you're missing until it's gone. Do I need to say that again? They're like, yeah, you have no idea that you're like missing out until it's not there. So it's not that he's not relatable to, because like we've grown up like we're here, we're in the nature space, we've grown up relating to him, like he's
Everyone
like,
still loves him all the
yeah,
same.
like there's the reason why like we all voted for him probably.
Yeah.
Because
Every single person.
Was he
Yeah.
everybody's top?
He's the
Everybody's.
only presenter on this list of a long list of people that everyone voted for.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Like, because it's not necessarily like, oh, I don't relate to them, they don't look like me. That's a white people problem. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that's like,
That's when
you know,
white people see a person of color and they're like, yeah, but that's not relatable to me. And like, it's like you don't know what representation feels like until you have it. It's not like I grew up watching every Hollywood movie being like, meh, can't relate to it. It's just that when I first watched a movie with an all Asian cast, I was like, oh my God, that's what it is.
Yes.
Educating.
Yeah, absolutely.
I genuinely, like, I don't know this stuff, and I'm sure a lot of people out
Yeah,
there
me
wouldn't
too.
as well.
I
Like,
feel the same.
it's open conversation.
Do you know he's responsible for actually bringing snooker to television?
I did know that.
Yeah.
Go on, tell the story. I wanna
So
hear it.
so
Sounds
he
like a
was
good
he
story.
was what they call a, what's the word for the head, like he was basically the person, he was a controller at BBC Two in the 60s. So the controller basically gives the green light to shows, which shows go on air on this channel.
They decide what programs get.
Yeah,
get put
exactly. And I think the BBC have recently scrapped that role, but it was like a big part of what they do before like the streaming era. And he was like really pushing to get colour TV on BBC. So he thought snooker would be a really good way to do that. So we have snooker on television thanks to Sir David Attenborough.
What's snooker?
Have you played pool? Like, in the pub?
Oh,
Pool? It's
okay,
like that,
okay,
but with
okay.
different kind of balls.
Yeah. Is it an English game, snooker?
No, I don't know anything.
No, but it
What
sounds...
do you call it in America? You call it.
They don't call it snooker. I've never heard an American say the word snooker.
I thought you played.
They play pool, yeah, or
We're going to get
billiards.
absolutely slated by snooker.
Yeah.
No,
But we should put a disclaimer. If you're watching this because you're a snooker fan, this isn't going to be for you.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
pool's better anyway.
Didn't the story go though that he was like presenting, was it like Zoo Quest or some like imperial horrible thing, and then he was like then he was the controller of BBC Two, and supposedly he stopped being the controller of BBC Two so he could go back to doing natural history broadcasting.
There you go.
That's an actions not words thing.
There you go.
Again,
There
right?
you go. There you go. Big him up. Big him up.
The thing is, what I'd say about Attenborough is what I personally voted him. I'm sure we all have our own reasons, and he's been there and he's been done some of the best programs.
He is the number one, so I feel like we should all say our reasons.
But for me, it's like when you give him a script or a producer and you've sort of helped out or whatever, even at the age of, how old is he now? 97. He takes that script and he molds it and he changes it. It's not just reading what the producers, he actually does form it into something amazing. He has opinions, he has thoughts. Like, my great-grandparents were in 97, amazing people, but not that with it, to be honest. At his age, to be still doing that, still making amazing scripts for television, it's incredible to see. And he works and he grafts and he does all these talks and he's still putting his face out there, still going to all cop.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that I loved him growing up. I would literally pretend to be sick to skip school to watch David Attenborough. And the thing is, we didn't get, so it wasn't on TV and you couldn't buy DVDs in China when I was growing up there in the early 2000s. So it was like my mother would go on business trips to Hong Kong, which is, former British colony. And then all she would come back with is DVD box sets of David Attenborough, because I would just be like, I want Life of Mammals. I want the plant one now. So it's touching, and it's the stories and it's beautiful. But as I got older, I was like, why isn't he talking about the extinction crisis?
Yeah.
Why are we pretending that the world is still a beautiful place? Why are we selling this idea of this exotic land? Because also being from the exotic land, it's it doesn't look like that.
Just to big up the Attenborough again, but that's not him. It's the reason it's not being said isn't because of him. I don't want to lose all my work and all my jobs for the future, but it's higher up people within the big companies that make those decisions.
Exactly.
Maybe this is an important point for at least me to backtrack on something I said earlier. That is what Chris is criticised for, right? That he does say the big political things to his benefit, right? And I don't know. Is anyone telling Chris?
He doesn't say them on air though. He says them on Twitter. It's his own platform. That's the difference.
BBC has to be impartial.
But his name is still attached, right?
Totally, but if he does it in his own time on his own platforms, it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing with David Attenborough now is I remember being so disenchanted with the industry and everything, and then around when I was at uni, he came out with one planet, our planet,
Oh,
and which has it's a
that was
much
incredible.
stronger narrative. And you finally saw like, oh, it's when it's with Netflix. You know, he can have a stronger voice about the things that he cares about. And sometimes he doesn't really say the right thing, but he's also 97, so that's fine. But he
Is that him, or is that the people writing his script? I don't work.
Bro, he's David Attenborough. He can write whatever script
It's a
he
bit of
wants.
both. It's a bit of both. It will be
Yeah.
the producers who write the script out first,
Yeah.
and he'll have an input into it, and he does have a big input.
Of course,
Is
he's David Attenborough.
This
bro.
panel is biased, right? You guys work in TV. You know how this works.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so I don't. If someone hands David Attenborough a script, does he read it word for word, or does he ad lib bits
No, he
of
ad
first?
libs. He'll read it before, change it, suggest changes. Changes will come back, and then he can ad lib. He can change things. He can.
Is that common? If you give Michaela a script, will she do the same thing?
Different presenters, completely different. So like, I don't want to reveal all these presenter secrets, but Chris will go off and go on his own
Yeah.
thing. You give him like when you give him research notes,
They're so sparse.
So
because
sparse.
he just knows everything
Whereas-
as well. Yeah.
Michaela is less knowledgeable than Chris, so she needs to know all the
Allegedly.
facts, kind of thing.
Well, I mean,
Allegedly.
it's hard to be more knowledgeable than Chris is the issue.
No, totally.
Like, it's
no.
not
Michaela's
Sure,
admitted
yeah.
it to me before. She's like, I need to know this, and this because I've done so much telly, so many things. Things go in one ear and out the
fair,
other. She
fair.
won't deny that. Like, she's not as smart as Chris. And then she isn't.
Whoa.
She is not as.
Well, she's not as knowledgeable.
I would
The
say
views
when
shared by Harry Yates are
Okay.
those of Harry Yates only,
Oh,
not
come
of the most
on,
venomous.
Harry,
podcast.
she's not as like knowledgeable, right? Like,
She's not as knowledgeable as Chris. I'm standing by.
On
her.
specific-
knowledgeable is different to smart.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
sorry. I didn't realise I was working with a thesaurus out there.
No, it's not the same.
hey, this is a pilot. We want to do more of these.
Alright, okay, she's not as knowledgeable as Chris. Alright, yeah. Sorry, my words aren't quite there.
There you go.
But and then another presenter like Gillian much prefers having everything so she can complete. Basically, essentially, all I'm saying is that everybody is different. Everybody works slightly different. I don't know if you found the same.
Yeah, I mean, Gillian was a producer before she was a presenter, and I think that is reflected in that, like, she can produce her own script. So, like, she'll just do the script almost as written, but because she comes from that background where she's like, she's checked it, she's made sure that it's all good, and she trusts the team. But we'll go from that script because she's a producer, because she knows that behind the scenes we're going, please don't ad lib, please don't make something up, like, ooh, like live telly.
How many of the presenters come from like TV, like mechanistic backgrounds? Because Martin Hughes.
Well, let's stick to Attenborough. Let's keep sticking to Attenborough.
Like, no, but one like, you know, as much as I love him, one great example of him using his platform for good is, you know, when he joined Instagram, his name, it was like the most.
What, Attenborough?
Yeah,
But then he
David
left.
Attenborough. Yeah, he joined Instagram, and I think it was like one of the fastest growing Instagram accounts in the world, and got to 1 million followers in like the shortest amount of time, like ever for anyone. So it is a testament to how popular he is, how many people love him, and how people trust him. He's the trusted messenger for conveying ideas, and we all know. Like, scientifically, the best way to translate ideas to people is through a trusted spokesperson. But as soon as he stopped promoting that one show that he was doing, they were just like, okay, Instagram account done, bye. And I was like, that is so much wasted potential of communicating something. And that's not on him. That's on, like, everybody who's managing him and blah, 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 blah. And also, like, he can't be on top of what he's speaking out for constantly at this age. But it's just like, it's just such a pity that there's so much potential for good, and it just isn't used.
To be totally fair, I hear your point. He's done a lot of good. Yeah, in his life, he's done a lot of good.
He's done a lot of good.
He's done a lot of. I think, what is he? 90-odd years old.
He's done a lot of good.
97.
Yeah, we'll fact check that. I'm pretty sure he's
Bro,
97.
for a man to get his head around Instagram, allow him.
He's not on there.
Yeah,
it's just his team.
that's true.
But it's
That
just,
is true.
it's like.
What is
the
it about him though
opportunity.
that's so like universally relatable?
It's the
I
voice.
don't think it's relatable. It's like pastoral. Not pastoral.
How do you mean?
Paternal.
Paternal. It is paternal.
It's
It
like,
is.
oh, sit down and let your grandfather tell you a story.
Can I just fact check myself? Attenborough is 96.
96.
Same age as the Queen, apparently.
There you go. That's a very good segue you got onto, you know.
Because the Queen is everyone's number one.
No. So David Attenborough is the Most Venomous's first number one. I think it's a very, very, very worthy number one. David, big up yourself. You've influenced many a generation, not just of people and viewers, but also of filmmakers. You are an absolute cultural innovator. One can only hope to achieve as much as you in a lifetime. We are truly honored to have lived in your presence, bro. Big up yourself. Big up yourself. Never ever small up yourself.
I don't know how many of you guys have got this, but like even if you have a sniff of TV, everyone's like, "Oh, you're going to be the next David Attenborough." Like, and it's like,
no.
no.
Yeah, 100%.
Hang on.
I'm like, hey, no, I am.
Not in that way, but I think that like he's an incredible like narrator and presenter and all of these things, but like the world doesn't need another David Attenborough. It needs people.
It needs us.
Exactly.
It needs us. It needs the most venomous. It needs the most venomous. Follow us all on Instagram, guys. That is it. We are wrapping it up. Follow us all on Instagram. All of our socials will be featured as well throughout at the beginning of the episode. Follow us on the socials once more again. Follow our journey. We are going to be back. We're going to be bringing you Venom week in, week out. Thank you very much, guys. Episode 1 done. Big up.